Hello all. We had a question about cyan. Why are my words coming through with cyan? And as you see here, this particular page has some of that cyan. You'll see the cyan up here. Now that cyan is just a highlight and it doesn't print. Okay, so right now we're just in preview mode or like screen mode, and we want to go to preview mode, or print mode is what you call it. So I'm going to hit the W key to hide everything. And you'll notice that that cyan goes away. It's because it doesn't print. And what the cyan means, sometimes you're going to see the cyan color, and then sometimes you're going to see a light pink color. The cyan means that there is an override wherever there's cyan at. So either that particular paragraph isn't using the same rules as the paragraph style it's set to. Okay, so these right here, these are cyan because they're set up as glyphs. So I'm going to clear that. So this M is a regular M in this particular font, and I opted for a glyph of the M. Now, you may say, what is a glyph? A glyph is an alternative style for a character. And a lot of the higher end fonts will have optional alternate glyphs for different letters. This particular font that I'm using is called Yana, and it is available from the Adobe font site. It is a Laura Worthington font. It's really, really pretty and whimsical and has so many great options for different letters. So those are glyphs. All right, you may say, well, how do I create a glyph? How do I know? Well, let's go back, and this is just a regular me. Clear override. Okay, so this is just a regular M. So this is just me typing M. In this particular font, when you highlight a letter, if there are any glyph alternatives for that letter, it will actually display it. It'll pop up and display it. Sometimes it's a little tricky getting to it. So these are all the options for the M. There's one, there's another, there's another, there's another, there's another. All right, so this is all the same font, just different decorative elements for a particular letter. Okay, those are glyphs. Now, there's another way to access glyphs, and you'll notice I have a glyphs panel on my workspace. So if you see yourself using glyphs a lot, you'll probably want to add it to your workspace. But you can get to the glyphs panel by going Window, Type, Glyphs, or use Alt-Shift F11. All right, and so the glyphs panel is set up. You can have it show all of these different options. Now this font has a lot. Most fonts do not have as much as this one does, but you can view the glyphs based on, you can view the entire fonts, you can view just numbers, math symbols, whatever you want. Different stylistic sets. I usually just view the entire font, and you can start scrolling through it. Like here are all the options for the uppercase A, and then here are all the options for the B. Here's all the C, D, etc., etc. Lots of swirly, QE kind of things. Okay. Now, the thing about glyphs, and you can scroll through and notice there's even more. These have accents on them. So there's many alternatives. The thing with glyphs is you don't want to overdo it. Okay. I am not one of those people who enjoys those book covers that's all you see. You can't even read what it says because it's nothing but all these swirly letters. Okay, so I like sticking to very few glyphs. So for example, in this particular title, I did two. I did one at the beginning and one at the end. Now we could have done one that's decorative on the O, but that's too much for me. With all of this, it just takes over. And so making it a plain O makes it clearly stated, and to me does a lot better at communicating the title than too many little swooshes. Okay. These G's right here, these are glyphs. So this is what a regular G looks like, and I just chose this G because I think it's pretty. I could have done one of these, which would have been okay if that was the only one that I did, and I added more space. But, or I did that at the beginning, and then I did a regular one here. That's okay. I personally don't like that overly flourished G. If I can't read it, it gets me a little upset. So that's a little bit on glyphs. Now, another great thing about glyphs, and we're going to find a spot where we need a scene break. You can use glyphs for scene breaks. And if you know of a font, some fonts are nothing but glyphs. This particular font right here, this is called Athlesis, and it's got some decorative elements within the font that you can use as alternatives. So there's a little flower that you could use as a scene break. Here, let's set this real quick so we can see it a little bit better. And you'll see that teal, there's an override there somewhere. That's only because it's a glyph. So, but just remember, in print preview, that cyan does not show. It's only there just to let you know this isn't adhering to the standards of the style somehow. And this particular one, it's because it's a glyph. So anyway, here we go. If you pull up a font and in the glyphs panel, and if the font has any decorative elements like this, you can often tell it to show ornaments. Okay, so these are all the ornaments for this particular font. Garamond has like 3. So these are the ornaments for Garamond. And then the whole font is nothing but some sort of decorative element. So these are swooshes. So that is a little bit about glyphs and how you can use them. And I'm going to show you real quick. Let's see. I think I have some issues with this particular template. All right. So, oh, I see what I did. Okay. So here is another scene break. Let me set these before I forget. And first pair drop cap. And I have a scene break here. Just a leaf to mimic. Let me see. And then first para. That is a and not a B. Okay. All right, so now I have, here's the chapter title page, and I'm making the chapter title pages, the titles decorative, because that's the way I have it in this particular sample. So I do special touches, like here, this M is a glyph, this I is a glyph, but I don't do too many. This D, this O, this M, and this O are all glyphs. I try to keep it minimal so it doesn't look overkill. It's better to make a nice impact instead of some overkill. And that's why you won't see me. Sometimes fonts come in nothing but those swirly cues and they have no other options for the letters. I don't like that. I do not like that at all because it makes it harder to read. So just remember, minimum on those glyphs. You just want to keep it to a minimum to make an impact. Okay, so here we go. What are we doing? We need to change this to chapter number and this to chapter title. All right, so now I'm going to kind of decorate these letters. Do not like, and you have to see how the letters interact. I do not like that the way the I and the W interact, so we can see other alternatives. I think that looks good, but I think it will make a better impact if we do a little less on the I. All right, so for the A, I think I would just want to go something simple. And I would really like one that just had this little swoosh at the end, but we're going to have to go with that one. And then the Y, we'll just, maybe that, yep, that one looks better. And I like to stick to the same thing if the letter repeats itself, okay? But I don't like it how the A and the G interact. And if we reduce the tracking to take away that space, then it just looks funny with the way they interact. So in this situation, I may do this A. And so that means I'll come back and do this A. Okay. And then we're going to do the first pair drop cap, and then we're going to choose that same A, which was this one. Okay. Now, you might say, but look, that little swoosh in the A is coming down to interact. This is fixable. So if we go to the first pair of drop cap and we edit it, and go to drop cap and nested styles. And this is in the paragraph style, so I'm changing it throughout the whole document. We want to check this scale for descenders. Okay. Now, in some cases, it doesn't necessarily work. What happened is that it didn't scale it. What it should have done is made this A smaller. And so in this case, you have a couple of options. You can adjust your baseline grid and bring it up, but then that looks funny. So in this particular case, I'll probably just go with an A that's a little different than what we had up here. So we will just, let's see, this one. I think we can get away with that A there. All right. So that's good. All right, so that's a little bit about glyphs. I hope that helps you and it teaches you a little bit about glyphs and how you can go in and play around with them.